Hello, and welcome back to another edition of Carrie's Gardening Channel. So today is June 29th, 2019, and I wanted to show you and give you an update on the tomatoes that we're growing in the straw bales this year as an experiment. And you can see here they really took off for us. Now the straw bales do get watered every day. We have soaker hoses down. We usually let the soaker hose on for about 2 hours. So you can see we have tomatoes hanging on here. We have more coming. And we have our fences now. We are going to have to put another fence up. And we're trying to figure out exactly how to do that. So it is something that we are working on. And these are the giant paste tomatoes from what I've seen from the tag. But we weren't sure at first what was going to happen or how this was going to work, but they're taking off very nicely, and they're growing very well. We have our tomatoes hanging on them. So giant paste tomatoes are supposed to be really good for like your spaghetti sauces and for cooking. So we did try that one last year. We liked it, so I did keep it. Now that one is a hybrid. Show you some of the other ones here. Now we have these here tied on to help hold the tomatoes into place between the two wires. Now sometimes what I do is, like, when I see one of the tomato stalks with the tomatoes on it, if it's pulling it down like these tomatoes here are, the more these grow, the heavier this is going to actually get. So you can loop a piece of this Miracle-Gro twisty tie around the stem here, and you can put it up to this wire up here to help support the weight of this. Just make sure you give it enough room so that it doesn't pull it down and cut into the stem from the weight. And you can also use the Miracle-Gro plant tape. I've used that as well. I kind of like that actually better than this stuff. This kind of scarred a little bit on the tomato stalks, and I don't really like that. So my personal preference is the tape, but we did try this year. And I'll have links down in the description for that. Now these are the Park Whopper tomatoes here. And that's another hybrid. Love the flavor of that one. I did a video on that one last year. Sort of a review video. I showed what the tomato looks like inside. And that one was a keeper for us. It is a hybrid, but we love the flavor of it. We love how much it gave. And last year was a really bad year for us because of all the rain that we had. And it was just a mess last year. So you can see it has the tomatoes hanging on it. But Park Whopper is a high yielding tomato. See the rest of them going out through there. And these recovered very well from what they looked like. We did have some cool nights come, and they did come back from that. They had some wind burn, and they recovered very nicely. I was really concerned at first after we had planted them out when I seen what was going on and what was happening, but very pleased with the results so far that we're seeing now since the weather started straightening out for us and the stuff started coming back. Now, I did do a video on my channel when we planted these in the straw bales for how we planted them and the foods that we mixed in with them. Now, we did put some blood meal down on top to continue to give the tomatoes the food that they need, but they have beautiful color to them, and they're not lacking in nutrients or anything like that. And one of the things that you want to make sure that you do with your tomato plants is that you don't let them go dry and wet, because what will actually happen is that'll cause, it's one of the things that helps to cause the cracking on the tomato fruit itself. So that's something that you want to watch out for and keep in mind when you're growing tomatoes, is that you do keep them well watered and moist. Tomatoes do like water. So, and you also want to watch out on your tomatoes for blossom end rot. And blossom end rot is caused by a lack of calcium. So you can put your eggshells down, and that'll help give them the calcium that they need. Some people use Tums. I'm not exactly sure the ratio that they use for the Tums, because we just use eggshells. But I know you can use Tums if you wouldn't have like eggshells. So what you do with your eggshells is you would put them down around like the base of the tomatoes and go ahead and water it in, and you want to crunch them up, and that'll give you the calcium that they need. Now just make sure after you do that you wash your hands really good, so that you don't have issues from anything from the eggshells. So today is July 9th, 2019, and I wanted to give you an update on the tomatoes growing in the straw bales here. So we did put a fence up because they exceeded the height of the wire that we had, and they're going to actually grow past the fence. You can see how high the fence is. You can see the tomatoes here growing. Now we did tie these up to keep them from falling down and to help support the weight of the tomatoes. So you can see the tomatoes we have hanging on here. These are the giant paste tomatoes here. Feed these with the Epsoma tomato tone, and I'll have a link down in the description for that. See here how much they grew from the previous update that I had given you earlier in this video. Look out through here. So these are still the giant paste tomatoes here. Now these are like a boat shaped tomato. You can see how large this one here is. Now we did prune these a little bit. We did take some of the leaves off here. Where there was a new part of the plant shooting out here, we took this leaf off. And that also helped to give us more airflow, especially on the bottom, because we want to make sure that we get enough airflow so we don't have issues with disease or blight. See how tall they are. Now these here are the Park Whoppers tomatoes. You can see here, they're just growing. They're actually going to exceed the height of this fence here even. And some of these, what we actually did on stalks that had a lot of tomatoes, like a tomato cluster, what we would do is we would wrap the tape around and tie it fast to the fence to help support the weight. Now we didn't do that on this one. We did that on some other ones. I think they were up further. And that helps support the weight of the tomatoes, so that to try and help support them so they don't break off. Because we tend to get a lot of wind. So we put the fence and we put our stakes on this on the opposite side of the way the wind comes, try and help hold them up. And we pounded the stakes down into the straw bales there. So we're still new to this. This is the first year that we tried growing our tomatoes in straw bales. We were really skeptical at first, but so far we're liking the results of what we're seeing here. And these are more Park Whopper tomatoes here. And we did kind of have to move some of the stalks around because as they continued to grow, they kind of fell over. So we had to pick them back up and tie them fast like we did here. We tied it here. And this leaf here is helping to hold this in place. And then we tied it up here. And we did put some eggshells down. That'll help with to prevent blossom end rot. And I really like these little tags. They're really nice for labeling everything. I'll have a link down in the description for those tags. You can bend them, and so far they're holding up very nicely with being outside. And these here are the Big Mama hybrid tomatoes here. So you can see these here are growing. You can see the fruits on these. There are Romano tomato, but the fruits are larger than your regular Romanos, and these do grow a little differently. Now these are not determinate tomatoes, they are indeterminate, which means they continue giving. So this one here is it's struggling a little bit. We're waiting for it to finish establishing itself. That one had a difficult time when we first brought it out. So you can see this one here. This is one of the Park Whopper tomatoes. We actually tied it. We tied the tomatoes up to the fence to help support the weight of it. So you can kind of see how we did that. So I wanted to give you this quick video update on how these are doing here since the previous video update that I did. And the tomatoes down in the hollow garden, we are starting to harvest some tomatoes off of those. So they're growing along very nicely. So if you like my video, please like, comment, subscribe. Please don't forget to hit the little notification button. I'll try to put a new video on. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'll have a link down in the description for the Twitter account. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a nice day. Bye.